Okay. We're ready for our next conversation over here. Quick question. Who plays video games here? You play video games? What game, what's your favorite game to play? Just shout it out. Warcraft? Nice. What's your favorite game to play? Minecraft? What's your favorite game to play? Nice. Who else plays video games here? No one on this side of the room? It's just this other room that plays. That's how you guys separated? You discuss with each other? Okay. All the gamers on this side of the room, all the non-gamers on this side of the room. So now we got to convert you guys to understand why gaming actually affects everything, from politics to society to mobility. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining. If I can encourage you, come closer. Come sit up here. It's really nice up here. The view is better. The lighting is better. Come on up. And you can see our speakers better too. Please, come to the front, I don't know why people love sitting in that corner over there. Maybe there's a secret in that corner I'm not aware of. Or maybe it's just nicer to see things off the big jumbo screens. But anytime you want, you can come up to the front. So let me bring up a friend of mine who is dressed so dapper. Let's give a hand to Manu, please. Now, let's just clarify this, Manu. Over here, this side, over here. Let's clarify this. That is a wooden bow tie, correct?
That's true. We're talking about sustainability here, don't we?
Yes, we are talking about sustainability. Big hot topic, not just out on the streets, but right here at IAA Mobility. For those who do not know you, who are you?
Hi. Thanks for being here. My name is Manu, Manouchehr Shmasrizi. I am actually, besides being a longtime friend of Dan, originally from political philosophy, and now I'm with the Game Lab Berlin of Humboldt University, where we look at how gaming is changing and impacting society, business models of all kinds.
Lovely. What do you play?
I myself must say I'm a big player of role-play games. Changing identities, experiences, new environments. So Witcher 3 was my game of the decade, so to say.
Nice. So when you are not working and changing society, are you gaming? What else do you do?
I wish I would game more. When you start thinking about gaming, it it attacks the same time budgets that you usually would use for gaming a bit.
Yes.
I'm lecturing at universities, and that's mainly what I'm interested in: knowledge transfer from science into business, society, civil society.
Fantastic. Last question before I give you the stage. If you wouldn't mind looking at that camera, talk to our virtual audience. Why should people, they could watch Netflix, they could watch YouTube, they can go anywhere right now. Why should they stay here?
Because we are going to have the most fun panel of the IAA Mobility 2021, I believe that. I mean, we're talking about gaming.
Excellent. So with that, I'm going to leave you the stage. Enjoy.
Thanks, Dan. I'm not here alone. We brought partners and friends from different type of organizations, different parts of society, and I want to introduce to starting with the one that is here with me today, Annette from ACATech, the German National Science Academy of Engineering and Technological Sciences. Thanks for being here with me, and we'll also have with us and joining us in a second, I believe, two other friends of ours. One is Caspar Johannes Meyer from our Auswärtige Amt, from our Federal Foreign Ministry. I'm very glad and happy, especially to see you, Caspar, because the reason why you cannot be with us might be the best that someone has these days. This poor fella is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that due to GDRP. Let's say he catched something that sometimes feels like the flu, but is much more problematic than the flu, and he didn't want to spread that with us today. And we have as a representative of the business community, Robertschenker, founder and CEO of Schenker Technology from Leipzig. And that's our panel and that's our crew for today. As you can see, and as Dan and I has been discussing earlier on stage, this is quite a diverse setup. Why is this? Well, because we want to showcase the impact gaming has on all different segments and parts of society. So we brought science, we brought the field of policy and diplomacy, and we brought the business community, so to say, with us to have some deep dive into these different aspects of how gaming interacts with society and business models specifically. Maybe let me start, if I may, with a catch-up of what we have been doing at the IAA Mobility 2021 and why we are discussing gaming as a source of innovation at all. If you take into consideration that about 3 billion people worldwide play video games. Of course, that's a very broad definition of video games here. It starts with mobile games, Candy Crush, so to say, and it ends up with Cyberpunk 2077, which is $100 million budget AAA title. And then you have games like Minecraft, who are a way of virtual Lego, somewhere in between. Still, it's 3 billion people, and these 3 billion people, they are impacted by this cultural technique with whom they spend their leisure time, so to say. We know now by scientific evidence that people who play video games, they have a specific idea of how design should look like. If you grew up playing video games in a very interactive setting, then that is an expectation you have towards everything else. The way your car works, the way your city functions. If you're used to cutting-edge technology like full immersive virtual reality, so to say, cloud gaming, and highly developed narrow artificial intelligence that you experience in the game, you are looking for those technological advancements in every other product, in every other process that you're participating in or you're interested to buy. With that being said, I would like to maybe start with Kaspar, because we are going to start globally, so to say, and then get more and more back into the IAA setting of local discussions. Also, Kaspar, you might be the most unexpected organization for some people here in the audience to have in such an environment. Why is the Federal Foreign Office spending time on looking into gaming?
Thank you, Manu. I think this is that come up in the future, but certainly one wouldn't think foreign being actor. But I think actually there are 2 levels where we can understand why diplomats and diplomacy should have a stake in gaming. I think the first one is a little bit abstract. I would assume that diplomats who game, who play, are probably the better diplomats, because games can teach us many important skills that we need in today's international relations. One of them being, for example, in a gaming setting, we take over a different role. So there's an exercise of empathy, there are new scripts, and basically you also have to understand what the other players, which don't always have to be opponents, what they want from the situation. And then another aspect is games have a very interesting relationship with rules. There's a set of rules, but many times we have situations where the rules are not so clear. Somewhere in the space between legality and legitimacy. And I think anyone who has played, even in massive online games, we come to a point where the players develop a certain culture, say things that are accepted by custom and are not legally binding or not within the rules of the game. And I think this is a very important exercise for diplomats when we try to act in fields which will be the biggest challenge in the 21st century. And I'm thinking namely of climate change, but also of cybersecurity. Then we are in situations where this capacity is particularly important. And then games, they tend to restrict our options. Games can be very frustrating, and I think games therefore produce innovation, innovative strategies, because we always have to be creative in many repeating new situations in a very highly concentrated way. And I think this creativity to find new solutions, new technological, but also political and collective solutions for common challenges will be a key skill for diplomacy in the 21st century. So the capacity to act collectively, I think, is something that is trained through games. This is a very important point. But then we, of course, also looked into the potential of communication that games have. And we see that gaming many times depicts very realistic situations, sometimes over the top. But gaming has the potential to basically convey complex political narratives or ideas about the future. So that is one aspect that we should also be careful and be aware of. And finally, I think for us, the revelation in the last 2 or 3 years that we've been working with gaming was that there's a huge community aspect around the world of gaming and esports. And frankly, for us, this has been the most rewarding area. We have been active on Twitch, where diplomats play computer games and speak with the gaming community. And this is our way of interacting with this global public sphere that has been developing around the gaming community. And the other aspect has been a so-called game jam. This year we have, in collaboration with the German Federal Agency for Political Education, carried out our first game jam, which is inspired by a hackathon. The gaming community comes together and they work on small independent gaming projects which try to communicate complex issues, in our case, global sustainability. And we realized that we can work with 80 to 90 participants from 30 countries spread around the globe on one weekend, and there's great availability and people are very passionate about the game. And just witnessing this dense atmosphere where people collaborate together on a project, pool their resources from political expertise to technical expertise over to the aesthetic aspects of computer game, has been really an eye-opener as to the potential that the gaming community is providing for global collective action.
Now, let me stick into that, Caspar. You were talking about collaboration, about also this community-driven approach that you guys are using. Now, as the IAA Mobility, of course, is looking into many issues that are as complex as foreign policy or even intertwining with it. Dan said that earlier, sustainability, but also what I so far have not come across a better word in English. We're looking massively here into the Mobilitätswende, the mobility of the future, so to say. But in German, it has this Wende, this transformation in it. If you could share 2 or 3 learnings on what the Federal Foreign Office was able to gain out of that community-driven interactions with the world of gaming, that you maybe believe the automotive and other mobility industries could use and benefit from in a similar way, would be awesome.
Certainly. I think, first of all, is the type of awareness that you can create in the gaming world. So we, for example, we would look into games which are connected to issues of foreign policy. But I mean, if I go back into my own biography as a gamer, I think mobility is an omnipresent topic in computer games. So for example, tapping into that potential in terms of content and discussions that are developing around platforms such as Twitch and other gaming streaming platforms, there I think lies a huge potential. There's a lot of debate going around those games, and many times people are passionate about certain gaming topics and maybe they are not aware of the connection that these games actually have to reality. So I think in communication and spaces for debate, there's a huge potential. The other aspect, I think, is the willingness of gaming community, for example, this sort of open source mentality where people, because they're passionate about a product, jump in with their own creativity, create new content for, create patches, create mods for the existing games. And then finally, I think that, and probably I'm not the one who's most entitled in this panel to speak about this, but gaming drives technology. And we have been many times impressed, for example, about the things that come out of the aspect of virtual reality. And I think in this context, I should mention a project which impressed me very much. by the United Nations Habitat Program, where they use Minecraft as some sort of digital but mostly political interface to reshape public spaces in many countries across the world. So they, instead of using complex architectural software, they use a very simple to learn software, Minecraft, which brings young people onto the board because they're passionate about games, they are competent, it brings the elderly together, it brings all people together which have an interest in a certain public space. And with this atmosphere of joy, simple user interfaces, you actually manage to mobilize a lot of expertise, a lot of very creative ideas on how you should reshape a certain topic of public interest. And you can also mobilize a lot of ownership. And I think this aspect of ownership is one of the very interesting social potentials that you can
Now,
get.
there has been, Caspar, yet again, many interesting points we would need to deep dive. In fact, we are going to talk about the technological aspects, including VR, later with Robert. But let me maybe build up on what you said about the sandbox gaming approach, which is also something happening at the IAA with other partners. Because this is something I know, Annette, you have been looking into as Akatech as well. Maybe you can share a few sentences on who is Akatech and why is our German National Academy of Technological Sciences looking into gaming to work on these community issues.
Well, yes, Akatech, everybody probably knows it, at least in Germany, Leopoldina. So we're Leopoldina for technological sciences. And we advise policymakers, but we also advise the public, so society. And one of our missions is to start discussions about how new technologies can and should shape our future. So that's what we do, and yeah, why we look into gaming, because the way an academy works, there's usually lots of old people, and also the media. I'm a communicator, so I always look at communications, and a lot of the media we use is geared towards let's say 30 plus, and actually young adults, children, students, they are the most important group in society actually to talk with when we talk about future.
I didn't understand though, and I think Caspar agrees, why above 30 and young adult, why is that mutually exclusive? But that's something for later discussions, I guess.
Yes, so for us, gaming opens a door. It basically enables us to engage with young adults from 15 to 25 in their world, and they don't read our papers. They're not part of our expert discussions to voice their opinions. So gaming for us is a way to engage with them, and we're actually using sandbox gaming. Caspar mentioned it. We use Minecraft in our project because we want to build a midterm future, a vision of the midterm future in Bavaria, in Bavarian regions. And we ask those young people to build their version of their region, and then we take this to the decision makers, basically. So they get a say in what ideas they have. We can tap into their creativity. They come up with new ideas because, as Caspar mentioned, they are used to working with technologies that are not yet mainstream. So they're really open, and that's we want to give them a voice in the policy making process. And yeah, that's why it's so important for
Maybe
us.
you can share a bit more about that project, because I believe it's fascinating. It also fits quite well into many of the discussions we had at the IAA so far, and will continue to have. That is basically Bavarian society discussing how it wants to look like in the future, which of course includes questions of mobility, right?
Right. So that's one of the topics we're looking at. We also look at food, how we want to produce food, what do we want to eat, how do we want to live, how do we want to move from one place to another, and it's part of a bigger project that works with the Bayerische Rundfunk. And so we know a lot about what people 35 plus want and don't want in about 5 years. So we look at the time frame of 5 years, and there's no the sandbox gaming, basically Minecraft, the hackathons we're about to do in October. They give us the opportunity to present them with we look on visions of the future. So we've created potential futures and put them up for discussion. That's what we want to do with the hackathons as well. So we asked the participants there to create or to answer some questions, some challenges within these topics, create their version of their region in 5 years, and also maybe come up with ideas the decision makers haven't thought of. So it's really look at the region. What is unique about it? What makes us unique as a region? And what can we do? And what do we want to do? And what would the region look like that we really like to live in, especially when we look at regions like Bayerischer Wald, where it's structurally weak, let's put it that way. So it might give a new thoughts.
I believe we'll be able to learn a lot about why Bavarian regions are unique. So far, the experience has been that the Bavarians tend to find answers to that question quite a lot. Okay, that's the science of knowledge transfer and science communication as well a bit, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
We're talking about a scenario planning be opened up, made inclusive, made participative, and part of the scenario plannings are highly esteemed research on biology, climate science, mobility, city development.
We looked at 80 plus studies to create these scenarios, and so it's quite valid what we put to discussion up for
now I can feel it in the game, right? I don't have to read those 80.
And it's really it's very inclusive because gamers, boys and girls, gaming is diverse and inclusive by default. I would say, and they don't think in like discriminatory terms actually. So it's just they can and do anything. They can be and do anything they want in games, and that's the idea. So it's really very very open and. And I think that's something that is lacking in many innovation and transformation processes. That the decisions are made by a small group of people, and this is something that we want to open up.
And it's a fascinating aspect that you're talking about, this diversity of the gaming community. For example, it is by now known for many years that. And I think Robert might be able to catch up on that in a minute, that girls at high school age that play video games as a hobby have an up to 3 times higher probability of studying STEM engineering, physics, and natural sciences. And they, when asked in those studies, there's one very famous one from UK, pointing out that when they are asked why, they then get interested in studying these disciplines, which is where we have a hard time to interest girls to study in. They answer, because I want to understand my hobby. I play this complex video game. It's a fascinating world full of non-player characters that run on narrow AI. I can use a VR interface to play it, and I want to understand how this works. And you said the gaming community is upfront in using these technologies. I think, Robert, you're the one who is, if we build up on that thesis, who is, well, supplying the gaming community with these technologies. Maybe one sentence, we could have invited, I guess, a lot of business partners from the gaming community in Germany. We choose Robertschenker from Schenker Technologies. I don't know if he's aware of that, why, but one of the reasons is, if I would be working in the automotive industry, Robert would be one of the persons I would be interested to talk to, because he's coming from hardware, like many automotive industry sectors, of course, come as well. Maybe you can share a bit about Schenker Technologies and why you guys have started to work with the automotive industry as one of Germany's technically still premium hardware supplier for us, the gamers.
Yeah, thanks first of all for the invite. Yes, I'm Robertschenker. I'm the general manager and founder of Schenker Technologies. Originally, we are a hardware manufacturer, so we build high-end desktop PCs and laptops. So in one of our core target groups is the gamer, for sure, so with our gaming brand XMG. But since now 6 or 7 years already, we realized that this is not the only business case for us. So since the technology which gaming is based on, the engines like Unreal and Unity are also used for lots of professional use cases, especially from the beginning of VR, virtual reality, coming to the game. And so now we are also a kind of a solution provider when it comes to technical solutions for virtual reality and extended reality, mixed reality, all these different words for these technologies. And we now offer the whole technology solution combined with the virtual reality headset and the hardware you need for running this.
And maybe, Robert, we can build up on that. Yesterday we had a panel, it was not a panel, it was called an academic masterclass, which is the IAA Mobility's format, where we can have really academic setting, so to say. We had 3 professors talking about specifically why an R&D department in the automotive or any other mobility industry should talk to the gaming world when interested in learning about AI and VR and cloud technologies. Maybe you can give us a short introduction. The professors all agreed. They said in the gaming world, AI is used years before it's in other industries. They said the game developers are highly trained in the problems that Porsche, for example, is now solving by using Unity, as you said, as an example, a gaming engine to do the interior design of their cars. It's not even a complicated problem for someone coming from game design. What are you doing with the automotive industry, and how does that how does this culturally work? Because I believe these are 2 different industries.
That's right. Definitely, we had to learn a lot to work together with different customers in this case. So originally, our customers also all consumers. Now we have corporations, huge corporations also as customers. So this is something we had to learn to work with. But as I said already, from the beginning, VR took place. This B2B business, I would say, was something which developed pretty well for us. So we were one of the first companies who had all these new headsets, HTC Vive and Oculus and so on in our portfolio. And first of all, the community thought it's a huge thing for consumers as a new gaming thing. VR will be a new hype on the gaming side.
We keep on telling this to ourselves for 2 decades now, I guess, right?
Yeah. We do, but the hype is over. That's clear, but it's still there, and it's growing on the consumer side. But on the business side, it's right from the beginning. It took place and was very interesting for industries, especially like the car industry. They do their research and development with this technology. For example, when we look into creating or designing the interior or also the exterior design, they use virtual reality now. There is, maybe let me explain one example. There's one very innovative company from Finland. They developed the most advanced VR headset which we have. It has a human eye resolution. It has eye tracking, hand tracking, and so on. And they currently use this device for, on one side, developing their products, and they also can use it now to develop together from totally different places of the world. We have one example. One customer of us is Kia Motors. They use this device together with our hardware, and they develop together from Germany with South Korea, and they can do this now without flying from one place to another. And this is the one side. And the other side, when they want to present these products to their customers, they also can use this technology. They use VR headsets on the point of sales to show customers better than we can do with catalogs, how the interior design, for example, will look like at the end. So this is something, it's a very good business opportunity also for us, and this is something which shows that originally gaming technology with the engines through VR now takes place in the professional industry.
Let's get a bit more confrontative here. Because I think we have a bunch of issues that would combine the perspectives of all our distinguished panelists, and I want to start with one that might be complex as well in the eyes of someone working on foreign policy, but also on the engineering scientific approach, and it might be a bit wine in the water, so to say, in this collaboration ideal between automotive and the gaming industry. We had an issue over the last days at the IAA that had been discussed quite a lot. I believe it was discussed more off the panels than on the panels, maybe because it's a bit problematic. Both industries tend to need chips. Now, we see automotive industry has troubles from different kinds because the chip production is not doing that well as we expected, and the gaming industry, of course, is I would argue one of the drivers of the chip development. So did you had anybody from Bosch or somewhere else calling you saying, why on earth is the gaming industry, isn't this much more serious need the automotive industry has for those chips? Why do you need it only to game?
That's a very complex topic, actually. So it's not that the chip industry is not able to or cannot produce so many chips as, but the demand is growing pretty much. So, and it's very many topics come into that. So it's, for example, also the COVID-19 situation, which increases the demand of entertainment products, also gaming products, and then there was the mining thing. So mining was also a big hype in the last
mining of cryptocurrencies.
Cryptocurrencies, exactly. So loads of graphics cards will be used for that, and all these things came together, and so the demand was much higher than what the manufacturers can produce, and they cannot scale up as fast as they need, and that's the original problem.
So it's not the evil gaming industry taking away the chips from the automotive industry, the backbone of our economic development, where they would be needed.
It's the other way around. Originally, the gaming industry used these chips, and the car industry came later with digitalize their products. And now the huge car industry thinks now we are so big, and everyone has to give us the chips instead of the gaming industry.
I see. That's an interdependent issue here. Maybe, and that we can also dig a bit into that. Of course, I can imagine an organization like Akatech is involved in these kind of discussions, right? What, based on your learnings from the gaming project you are doing, but also I know you're involved in the citizen science lab of the IAA Mobility as well. What do you think can be, what are lessons learned on how can we bring these potentials from the world of gaming, both in regards to technological development and culturally, how can that be easily tapped into by the old world, so to say?
Easily, well,
as easy as possible.
Not sure if it's going to be easy. I think that the gaming community has a lot to give in terms of future customers, in terms of future employees, entrepreneurs, and taxpayers, of course. So it's from our perspective, I think it's about the creativity on the one side, but also on the experience gamers have in their gaming world. I think that's a very good experience to bring to the automotive industry. It's basically thinking about completely new things. It's real innovation they can bring, and they're, as I said before, it's diverse and inclusive by default. So it's really the automotive industry can basically use gaming to learn about what the future generation of customers and employees want in all parts of the world. I think that's a really great thing to have and to tap into.
Now we all agree on that, I think, and it's pretty important, I believe, that you brought in the global and international perspective as well, because of course that is something I agree that an industry can learn about different cultures and so on. If we agree on this potential benefits gaming has, I don't think Robert will disagree on that. You just made that argumentation. Kaspar, maybe there's a lesson learned hidden somewhere in the great and honorable Federal Foreign Office. I remember having been asked more than once the question, how did they manage to get into gaming? And I believe in something that might be called a hidden agenda of that question is if the most long-standing, continuing bureaucratic agency of our federal government is able to look into gaming. I want to learn how they did it, because if they can, I might be able to use the same approaches in my organization as well. So maybe share one or two steps, because I know they have not been that complex sometimes, right? It was listening to your own people.
Yes, certainly indeed. I think, as you mentioned, one wouldn't necessarily expect such a rather conservative and very big actor as the Federal Foreign Office to quickly move into this field of gaming. And I think it's also important to mention that we should always be aware of certain risks. But first of all, I would say the biggest risk is to ignore the relevance of gaming and all the aspects that come along with it. But I think when you're well aware of the risks, at the beginning, it's actually not too difficult to have a successful approach. So we started with a study on the potential of games. And then we actually took advantage of the fact that we are a very big organization. We sent around basically an internal email and asked who here in the Foreign Office is an active gamer. Please get in touch with us. And we had a response that was much stronger than anticipated. We have representatives of all generations. We had more or less a balanced gender ratio. And from then on, we basically took a step-by-step approach, always taking larger and larger risks. And to be honest, when we first went on Twitch, when we first started to play computer games and to engage with the public sphere around gaming, we were a little bit nervous because we didn't know how we would appear there, how people would perceive a public actor. Because I think some aspect that is very important to understand about gaming is that people have this passionate relationship towards their hobby, and there have been many unsuccessful attempts, I think, to instrumentalize hobby and especially the gaming culture. So it's important to have an authentic approach. And I think in our case, I myself, I grew up playing computer games. I play from time to time, not as much as I would wish to. And unfortunately, my private laptop is not strong enough to play Witcher 3, as I just found out this week. But I think it's important to use the knowledge that you have in your organization. I think many people have this active gaming experience. And still, I have to say that sometimes it's, well, one would rather proudly admit that one is interested in, I don't know, theater or sports than to say that one is an avid gamer. So I think this is still a cultural change that within the Foreign Office we're witnessing step by step. But I think one important moment was always connected with Cyberpunk 2077, when our colleagues in the German embassy in Warsaw all of a sudden realized the economic importance of gaming in the Polish economy.
So the studio behind Cyberpunk 2077, which some of you might not know, has for a few months been the most valued Polish company at the stock markets. Yeah. Kasper, I want to get one point straight because we are running out of time and we need to jump to the next level. The IAA's game design is pretty stressful, so to say. As a compliance issue, I don't believe this was a way of asking Robert to organize a better laptop, right? We do not go into that direction here. Final thoughts, maybe each of you, very short, you can share with our audience sitting here and watching online, one game to get into gaming, to learn about the potentials of gaming, if you haven't gamed at all so far.
Was question to me, or?
Yeah, start.
Okay. Yeah, Minecraft is definitely a good one. My son is playing this for hours and hours every day. That's definitely something, since it's very, very creative. You can build your own world, as already mentioned here in this panel.
Got that. Annette?
Yeah.
Or would you have chosen Minecraft as well?
Probably, but my nephew's playing Landwirtschaftssimulator, and he's so into it.
That's a very Bavarian approach over here. Kasper?
I think the last game I really thoroughly played was Breath of the Wild, and I think it's great. It's an open world game. You can explore, you can become very creative, and I think it trains this playfulness, which we can then transfer to solve real world challenges.
Lovely. And we are going to end this level, so to say, in 4 seconds. Thank you for being with us. Thanks for watching online and being here with us in the room. It's already minus time. Dan will come up and tell us that it's game over for us.
All right, let's give a big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Manu, very much for hosting this.
Thanks
I
for
think
having
you
us.
have a meeting to run to, so
Yeah.
off you roll. Excellent. So in the next couple of minutes, you know the deal. You know what we have to do here. Sanitize the seats, switch up the water, bring up our next panel. This is the biggest panel I have seen. So if you're ready for what I expect to be a pretty challenging, big conversation with multiple players, you want to stick around over here. So enjoy, say hi to your neighbor, and send some tweets out. Don't forget, hashtag IAA Mobility 2021, and I'll see you very soon.